So Raviji, would you like to
Yeah,
go ahead?
I'll start. A larger luster lit the mighty page, a purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void he saw throned the omniscience supreme.
So I'll read. Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Please. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
A will, a hope, immense now seized his heart, and to discern the superhuman's form, he raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world. The glory he had glimpsed must be his home. So I'll continue this paragraph also.
Yes, why not? You can do it with till and learn the logic of the infinite. You can read until here. Yes.
A brighter, heavenlier sun must soon illume this dusk room with its dark internal stare, the infant soul in its small nursery school, mid objects meant for a lesson hardly learned, outgrow its early grammar of intellect and its imitation of earth nature's art, its earthly dialect to God language change, in living symbols study reality and learn the logic of the infinite.
The ideal must be nature's common truth, the body illumined with the indwelling God, the heart and mind feel one with all that is, a conscious soul live in a conscious world, as through a mist a sovereign peak is seen, the greatness of the eternal spirit appeared, exiled in a fragmented universe amid half semblances of diviner things.
Yeah, thank you. So we stopped here, and so we were able to see that how with Ashwapati's realizations he's able to see a greater truth than the worldly truth that is seen. He's able to see beyond the appearances. What is the reason of all this? Why are dualities there? What are they doing? Why is Prakriti having the dominant hand? So all that Ashwapati is able to see. And now when he sees this so truly, that is it's a concrete reality for him, he says that I have to bring this down to earth. It's not that the spirit only has all this beauty and for the matter it's all ignorance and inconscience. So all the consciousness, all the beauty, the harmony, the knowledge, the wisdom, he says that I have to bring it down here. He sees that possibility. And I think we were also reading that in this was very prominent, a will, a hope immense now seized his heart. So when we are able to see something so concretely with our own self, that yes, it is a possibility, I have reached until here, and then it is also possible for each one of us to reach until there. So he says that now it is possible. So practical experience here is very important. Then he's filled with this hope immense, which seizes his heart, and he's able to see the sovereign peak through the mist now. But we were reading in the last few lines. As through a mist, a sovereign peak is seen. The greatness of the eternal spirit appeared, exiled in a fragmented universe. And this was related with, in earlier Canto 1, where we were reading that spirit feels as if it's like a begging child on the streets, and how the begging child appears very, nobody pays attention. Rarely would be someone looking into his eyes and paying attention to that begging child. So that kind of exile the spirit feels here in this material existence, because all that we give importance to mostly is, we are giving importance to things which are not really taking us anywhere, and yet it's hard to give up our lollies and candies. So it appears exiled, the greatness of spirit which is 24/7 with us human beings. How much attention do we pay it in our day-to-day life? Is it like as important for us as breath, that we can't live without manifesting it? But we see that it's only important maybe in our silences, and maybe in the time that we spent in solitude and meditation or something like that. But then the ordinary, the mechanical takes over, and we give more importance to those little trivialities of life. They don't appear trivia to us. It's just a matter of spoken language that I'm using it, but they appear very important to us. So the spirit is feeling exiled, that what am I doing here, almost, that, well, I feel so alienated in this world. So that is the first time we read it was in book 1 symbol, Dawn, I guess, where he created this imagery of as if a beggar begging on a street, begging child, and that's how alienated the spirit feels in this material world. So in this fragmented universe, since we always have a limited mind in action, which is seeing through very little windows, and there is so much belief that we have on our little windows that we don't want to give up these little windows, because we think that at least I have some light. I don't want to give this up. So we are not able to give that up. So it's a fragmented universe. The truth appears only to us in bits and pieces, like glimpses here and there, not a true picture, amid half semblances of diviner thing. So semblance is like a resemblance, when we say that, oh, your brother resembles you. So that's where it is coming from, semblances. And this universe, the material universe, is a semblance of the divine, but the only possibility so far that is there for us is only a half semblance. So yes, there may be beauty, but it's only like half beauty. It's not truly a divine beauty. So half semblances of diviner things. That's where we operate in our ordinarily state of mind. So this is where we stopped, that he was able to see that there is some higher possibility in this lowly possibility which is possible right now in human evolution. There is something more which is possible. It's not that that is the end of evolution. There is something more that is to come. So he was able to see that and become hopeful about that. So now we are to take the new lines today. Yeah, would anyone like to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
These now could serve no more his regal turn. The immortal's pride refused the doom to live, a miser of the scanty bargain made between our littleness and bounded hopes, and the compassionate infinitudes.
Yes, thank you. So now it's very beautiful, again, as every line is beautiful in Savitri and others. These now could serve no more his regal turn. So this shift, this radical shift that's happened with Ashwapati, he could not be satisfied with this low kind of a living. So this exiled, the greatness of eternal spirit, exiled in a fragmented universe amid half semblances of diviner things, these could not serve his regal turn, the royalty, the beauty that he saw. He was not able to be content with such ordinariness that we live with. The immortal's pride refused the doom to live. and now he could taste his immortality in practical experience, and he refused to have this life which is in the clutches of death, and we don't know when we die. Diseases are there, all kind of mental and emotional illness is there. We don't have control over our mind, no control over our emotions. The matter does not know its divinity. So all this did not appear very it did not appear very satisfying to Ashwapati. Now he could not tolerate it, and this is the beauty, that imagine that I'm born in a cage. I don't know what is outside. So when I'm born in a cage and living my whole life in a cage, I feel that okay, this is life, because I don't even know what is possible. Because if only once, imagine that if I go out of that cage, I get this opportunity and I explore the world and I see the infinite possibilities are there for a person like me, then I cannot be content with living in a cage. Then I will rebel. Then I will say, no, 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 this is not done. I want that freedom with me, which I have tasted now. And just like that, when we remember our freedom struggle, all these great beings who stood for the freedom of the country, they had tasted their true freedom, and they said, no, 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 not done. I can't imagine living in this captivation, not possible. So jaan jaye, like I'm happy to leave my breath and body, but not happy to live without this freedom that you have taken away. So that is the taste that we have to develop. This taste for our freedom, the taste for loftier and higher things, as mother says. And if once we get a true taste of such a life, then we will not be able to be content with a kind of a life which is just in the captures of inconscience and in ignorant life, where there's so much ugliness and there is hardly any self mastery. I won't be able to say yes to that. So that is what Ashwapati underwent. The immortal's pride, now I have tasted this beauty, how can I accept this world of full of mortality, death and ugliness, suffocation and limitation? A miser of the scanty bargain made between our littleness and bounded hopes, and the compassion infinitudes. So how we live is like we strike a bargain, as if, and that too a very scanty bargain. So you give something away and you take something which is so scanty, it doesn't even appease your tummy. But you have done the bargain. That's how we live. We bargain in our relationships, we do these bargains in our, in day-to-day life, and we give just too much and get just so little that it is never enough to have a content in our being. So the transaction is not good enough for us. It's a very, and we still are very miserly. How? That whatever little I have, I want to just capture it. That, oh, I may not lose that person, this much money, that much jewelry, this much job, that much property. At least I am able to live. So first of all, we strike a very scanty bargain. We settle down for too little. And secondly, we still remain a miser. That whatever little we have, we want to clutch onto it. That, oh, what if I lose this? At least I have this. So a scanty bargain, and I live like a miser, a beggar almost. That's how our life is. And yet, living like that does not appease our tummy. We are totally discontented throughout, no matter how hard we clutch to our scanty bargain. Between our littleness and bounded hopes. So, the kind of hopes we have as a human beings right now, they are also so limited, bounded. Imagine, I have a hope, but what kind of a hope I have? It's a very limited hope. Bas itna ho jaye, bas only this much, please, if happens. Only this much, if it happens. So these are how I make these transactions and look forward to the future. and littleness. We very easily would, if this some example which I used many a times, if I ask today, if I question all of us today, which feels more real, when I say you are all divine, or when I say you are unworthy? Usually, not talking of all of us, usually we will feel very familiar with I am unworthy, I'm limited, I'm not good enough, I'm incomplete. That's our littleness that we identify with. The moment I remind, say for example, but you are divine, you are all powerful, I can't believe it, because I'm holding so tightly to my littleness and thinking that somebody else is making me hold tight to my littleness. So I've just gotten obsessed with this littleness that I live with, the miserly attitude. And even in giving, when we are giving, so for example, our time, our money, our, in relationships, we give our presence. That too is so miserly, that only this much I can tolerate. Otherwise, I begin to expect. That's the problem with us. That the more we give, we begin to then expect that the other person also gives. So that's why the mother says that even human love is a beautiful opportunity for all of us to actually be able to do complete self giving. We can start from there. Because when we are suffering in human love, we realize that, oh my god, I have so many demands and expectations from this person, what do I do? So if there is any drop of pure love there, then we can complete self giving can happen without any expectation, because there is a joy in giving. Just for that joy of offering ourselves in a true relationship, one can give. So that from a miserly giving, it turns to a expanded kind of a giving, that I'm giving because of its joy. One is feeling grateful for the other person, that through this relationship I at least experiment with this giving attitude. So human love is a very beautiful ladder, mother says, to approach divine love, because we have a chance to purify our emotions, purify our demands, expectations, our sense of lack, our insecurities, all that can get purified. So this is how we live. These could not serve anymore Ashupati's heart. He said, no, this is not enough. The way we lived with little and limited, suffocated lives, not enough. So this is how we strike a bargain between the infinitudes, the compassionate infinitudes. When we talk about that, there is no giver like a true guru. A guru is ready to give all that he has, the knowledge, the wisdom. But what kind of a vessel am I carrying? I carry such a little vessel. So how much can a guru give? Because my vessel is full of the stuff that I want, my desires, my wishes. These are the people I want. This is the money I want. So my vessel is already so full. And the poor guru wants to give me more, but I don't have space. So this is a very scanty bargain that we strike. And the suffocation is so high that even if with a scanty bargain, I still live a miserly life. My tummy is still discontented. I'm not content yet. And yet I don't change my ways of living, ways of thinking. Such is the condition that Ashupati sees. And he says, no, not done. We have to change. I'll have to bring the greater light. Yeah. And this Kabirji also talks about striking a right bargain. He says that you see the glitter around and you do such a cheap bargain. Strike the right bargain and give away whatever littleness you have for getting the higher. Do a right kind of a bargain, which has to be done, I believe, every moment, because every moment there is an opportunity to slip down to the egoistic, limited self. And whenever we become conscious of that little state, suffocated me, I don't have enough, others have more, but what about me? I'm giving so much. When all these thoughts come up, then I can become conscious of that and step aside from that egoistic state. So that is my possibility. Remain expanded and operate from expansion. So any thoughts here, anyone?
Yeah, the paradox here, like on one aspect, I could have self-worth issues, or, like I am not, like you were asking, divine or, devil. I don't know, not devil, but not good enough. And yet, for regular small fights, I am, like you don't know who I am, you don't know who my father is, kind of a thing. So the paradox in us, that how, and yet, like we now know that that too is ego, right? Like I'm too much is ego, I'm too little is ego. Yes, that was a bit striking when you were sharing. And even before that, how you were sharing that once you've had a taste, it's so hard to go back. And yet it reminded me, of those Stockholm syndromes and all, in which the people who have been kidnapped or were held hostages got attached to their, like, the people who kidnapped them. So, like, such is the extent of our ignorance, and such is the extent of our stickiness, that that too is a possibility, that even knowing fully well, totally, apparently, that yes, he is the person who's captured me, and who's responsible for my non-freedom, I would still remain captured because there's some attachment, there is some resonance there. I mean, it just surprises me the extent of where we can go. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting to see the extent of ignorance. And as everything is made in the image of divine, so just like divine is infinite, our ignorance is also infinite. We must not underestimate it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, anything more? Anyone? So moving ahead. Yeah, would anyone like to read? Anyone who has not read so far? Nandini and Shweta?
His height repelled the lowness of earth's state, a wideness discontented with its frame. Resiled from poor assent to nature's terms, the harsh contract spurned and the diminished lease.
Yeah. So this height at which Ashupati is right now, this height of consciousness, looking at the larger picture. And it's very true, even in our little experiences, that if we are truly, really, truly able to glimpse and have a practical realization of a larger picture, then we would not be able to give importance to the little that we give importance to, which really sucks up a lot of time in our lives. So, and it's a, I would say it's a sign of any true realization, that if it is a true realization that I have undergone, and if it is become concrete for me, then it is impossible that I give importance to the little. And if I am giving importance to the little right now, then it means that that realization was only a glimpse, and it has not become stabilized in my being. And I feel that we have to put a lot of effort in order to stabilize. One needs, I feel one needs a lot of self love, that if I have tasted that beauty once, that is what I want to make my life. Mother says that it's not that glimpses are not given to us. Each one sitting here in this session, and maybe others listening later, each one has been given a beautiful glimpse, not even once, many times in our lives. But as Taru was sharing, that the ignorance is so deep, and our love for ourselves so little, we settle down with so little, that okay, five rupees, enough, I don't need the thousands. Not up talking about money here, talking about the beauty and harmony within. So if I have tasted a glimpse which has been granted to me by grace, I say, no, 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 that happens only once in a blue moon. But the real life is this, which everyone is going through. So we equate real life with, okay, how many number of people are behind it? See, the whole of humanity is getting married, having children. Then I also have to do the same, because everyone does it. And that life, no, 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 that life once in a while is okay. But the true life is getting married, having children, getting a job, this, that, keeping yourself engaged in all the things of celebrations here and there, getting occupied with this and that. So we say that that is more concrete, that is more real, that which is coming from our senses. And in that, we ignore the glimpses that we have been given by the grace. And Mother says that the true radical realization is this, that when you have been given a glimpse, to know that I can relive that glimpse and make that glimpse my total reality. Total reality. Even if I have seen sun and sunlight only once, that gives me this hope and in love for myself that no, I don't deserve this darkness. This darkness also has to be turned completely to that bright light that I have once seen. That is the amount of love that we need for ourselves. Not to settle down for too little. That everyone lives such a life, so let me live such a life. One has to be really, I feel that we use our arrogance at a wrong place, our stubbornness at a wrong place. This is where we need to be really stubborn. That no compromise on living a life of passion and joy. Not passion in the sense of, desirous, but in the sense of truly passionate for higher and loftier things. And not compromise, no any amount of compromise on joy and delight and following your heart's call, not allowed in my life. So that kind of stubbornness is what is required. And we will see that there are so many stories of inspirational people available to us. Many books have been written. They did not give up on their delight, no matter how much hardships they had to face. But we think that these are only few little people who can do that. I can't do that. And that is where we become our own enemy. That I can't do that. That's where we become our own enemy. So his height, where he was, this ability of a higher illumined state of consciousness, in there he repelled the lowness of earth state. As if you're feeling repulsive. That what is this kind of living? I can't tolerate it. Because he has tasted such a beauty. His height repelled the lowness of earth's state, a wideness discontented with its frame. Ramana Maharishi says that once you have realized truly who you in truth are, it is almost, when you come back to the body, it is almost living like an elephant living in a hut, small hut. So that's the discomfort you face, he said. So that's what Ashwapati sees, that imagine, and good that we go through a bit of forgetfulness that we are the divine. Otherwise we won't be able to live this petty life that we live. It's impossible. So he says that a wideness discontented with its frame. Now the frame in which this wideness is captured, the elephant is captured in a hut, it's not discontent, it's not contented with that. No, now he has realized. That is why we call self-realization. So the elephant was always an elephant, but it did not know that it was an elephant, and what are its capacities. Just like, there we have another story of a tiger living with sheep since infanthood, and he becomes a sheep living with a lot of sheep, and then a tiger comes and realizes that, hey, you're not a sheep, look at your reflection in the water, you are a tiger, live like a tiger. And then he changes. So that is what is self-realization, that we don't even know who we truly are and we live like a beggar. not realizing who we are. So we can only live like a beggar when we don't have any realization of our truth. But when we have a true realization of any, whatever degree, who we truly are, we can't be just contented with the petty life that we live. We will always want more height, more loftier, as mother says, become attracted to loftier and higher kind of a living, that it is possible for me right here. So a wideness discontented with its frame, resiled from poor assent to nature's terms. So usually we are very okay with, okay, the mind is ruling me. Such is the life. Everybody minds rule them. We don't have any mastery over our life. All the impulses rule us, all the desires rule us, the body rules us, and we happily accept it. But he says that, here he says that he resiled, he withdrew from this assent that, okay, yes, you will rule nature. The moment he realized his greatness, he said, no, I can't accept this rule of nature on me. So as it happens in our growth as human being, first we are overpowered by nature. Nature rules, prakriti dominates. That was the pact that was signed between the purusha and prakriti. The prakriti dominates so far as we remain in ignorance, only so far. But the moment we realize our true stature, it is impossible that the prakriti will still dominate. Now they become playmates. Now prakriti and purusha, they become like a leela is happening. More things can happen. So now he withdrew poor assent to nature's terms. Now I do not agree to your terms. He withdrew that assent that he had given earlier. The harsh contract, spurned, and the diminished lease. So I think spurned would be referring to burned, if I'm not wrong. Let me just check. I'm not remembering.
No, I think it's perfectly okay. The harsh contract.
Yeah.
The harsh contract.
Reject.
Rejected.
Yeah. Rejected. Yeah. Thank you. So he rejected this harsh contract and he cut short the lease. That this now is not going to work. And this also came in earlier cantos, that we read, that so far as the man remains in ignorance, prakriti dominates, prakriti rules. He's still learning. The purusha is still learning and awakening to himself. But when the journey has been long enough, the purusha awakens to its stature. He takes the front seat, that now the king is here, enthroned. And then there is no need for the prakriti to dominate. The ignorant movements, seemingly ignorant movements of the prakriti to dominate. Now I can actually become the king in my life. I don't have to remain a beggar now. So this is what he feels, that he withdrew this contract, he diminished the lease. So anything here, anyone? Okay, so I'm assuming nothing. If there is anything, please bring forward anytime. Yeah, anyone who would like to read? Nandini, you wanted?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Only beginnings are accomplished here. Our base's matter seems alone complete. An absolute machine without a soul. Or all seems a misfit of half ideas. Or we saddle with the vice of earthly form. A hurried, imperfect glimpse of heavenly things, guesses and travesties of celestial types. Nice.
Yeah. So we may think that we have come very far in human and earthly evolution. But here Sri Aurobindo says that no matter how much has been accomplished, we have created buildings, as high as twin towers, for example. We have sent missions to Sun, Pluto, Jupiter. All kind of probes are going here and there, rotating in around the space. Yet, he says, in terms of evolution of consciousness, only beginnings are accomplished here. Only this much has been done. We can't say that our task is over, the task of nature and evolution and growth of consciousness, not yet over. So in spite of all the achievements, much is remaining still to be achieved. Our basis matter seems alone complete. So after so much of struggle and labor, nature has created this matter, the thing that we call as matter. Either we call body or this elements, 5 elements of which the matter is made. So at least that base nature has formed, that appears to be complete in its formation. It has become indestructible. Now if we look at it, even when we have a human body, we burn it. Where does it go? It doesn't go anywhere. It changes forms. So some of it becomes maybe steam, vapor, some of it becomes earth again, ash. Some of it, the bones still remain, or some pieces of it, they become mud, dust. And imagine the dust around us is full of people who have died, for example. So they are always living in that sense. So matter has become indestructible in one sense. It is immortal. It only changes forms. For example, plastics, we talk about plastics. They can only be recycled. They can't just vanish into thin air. And even if they vanish, they will produce some gas. So they are again changing form. So in that sense, nature has done a lot of job, and it has made matter, it has created this base of matter, and that alone seems to be a complete job done. Okay, this is done, indestructible matter created. So only beginnings are accomplished here. Our basis matter seems alone complete. An absolute machine without a soul. But although matter is indestructible, but when we look at matter, we look at the chair, the table, the laptop, we can't see any divine presence there. It is still masked. Absolute machine without a soul. We look at the plastic chairs around, or maybe even the stones lying around. It's very rare to see a live, living presence in these inert material. So an absolute machine, even matter, without a soul, without a conscious presence, or all seems a misfit of half ideas. So even when we have such a good intellect, we have such mental capacities, we have gone to moon and beyond, even when we have such a great so-called mind, we can say, yet the only thing that we have is half glimpses of the true ideas. So whatever the mind gets from the higher realms are nothing but half truths. And imagine that we are reflecting upon something in your life. You may silence your mind and get some intuitive knowledge. But we will see that the moment that intuitive knowledge comes, the mind, as it is right now, it distorts that information. So again, half idea. So even the functionings of the mind, because of this ill perfected instrument, they are very not a very nice filter for the higher ideas to come. We distort ideas, we bring in our desires, we bring in our vital satisfactions in front, and the truth gets distorted. So all that we have is misfit of half ideas. And that's why we are always at clash with each other. No matter even if we are working together, some or the other clash will be there because we have egos, and egos filter out the truth. But we don't become conscious of it. So a true workplace in beauty can be that each person is walking the path of truth and consciously working to know the presence of ego in him or her, so that the moment the truth gets distorted, I get to know that yes, I distorted the truth, and hence I can step back. That's a true conscious living. Slowly we can go forward with. So all that we have is seems a misfit of half ideas. We usually are content with that is what is human possibility. Or we saddle with the vice of earthly form. Now here it's a very nice combination of words. So it's like fitting, and vice is also referring to a tool that is used in, I think, maybe when we are working with iron or metal. We have a small tool like two pieces, and it's like a cage that we create to fit the piece of iron in the middle of it, so it gets compressed from both sides. So when the higher truth comes, what we do is that with our distorted instruments of mind and thought and feeling, we compress it and try to fix it in that little frame that we have, because beyond that I can't think. For example, if I talk about self giving, so I may have a very good insight in self giving and I may begin to walk that path, but sooner or later I will try to fit it in a frame that no, beyond this it is just too much, right? So whatever truth we get, we distort, we try to fit it in, or we saddle with the vice of earthly form. So whatever earthly manifestation is, whatever earthly capacities are, which we have ingrained in our mind, we try to fit those truths in those frames, those vice, and a hurried imperfect glimpse of heavenly things. All that we get is a very hurried imperfect glimpse of heavenly things, and we are usually content with that. So we may get a glimpse while we are in sadhana, we are maybe meditating in solitude, emptied our mind, rested. We get an intuition, happens many a times, but only a glimpse of intuition. The mind becomes so restless that we get up, we don't complete it. And with that glimpse, with hurried imperfect glimpse of heavenly things, what we try to do is guesses and travesties of the celestial types. So travesty is something like a caricature. You make a cartoon of a person, for example, and whenever we make a cartoon, it's kind of a deformation of the true person right in front of me. All I am doing is guessing, looking at that shape, that is in front. I'm guessing, and according to my hands possibilities or capabilities, I'm deforming that person, and that is enough for me. So what we do is we get this hurried glimpse, intuitive glimpse. Okay, this is how beautifully the work must be done, but in my hurry, since the mind cannot be still, I just guess and make a caricature of the true knowledge, celestial types, whatever was given to me. That's what we do, and we remain satisfied with that. So one has to develop that kind of sincerity that no, there is a distortion and I see the distortion. That's the true sincerity that mother expects of us, that we must be able to see the distortion that happens in us. And it happens with everyone. There is no one which is not there. But in all our baby steps, we have to become conscious of the distortion. The moment we get a distortion, we become conscious of it, that oh, something was ill fitted there, it did not appear right, and immediately to move towards more beauty, more harmony. Yeah, so that's what we have to do. Anything here, anyone? So who wants to go next?
Yeah. Here, chaos sorts itself into a world, a brief formation drifting in the void, uppings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power, flamings of beauty into earthly shapes, love's broken reflexes of unity, swim, fragment mirrorings of a floating sun.
Yeah, thank you. Here, chaos sorts itself into a world. And that's the world which appears for us normal. When we talk about, oh, this is not normal what you are doing. So we have gotten adapted to a chaotic world and we think that is normal. Why? Because that is repeated and that has been repeated over centuries. That's what our ancestors did. That's what my father, mother did. That's what my relatives are doing. So we have repeated it umpteen number of times and given it stability by repeating. Whatever we repeat, we make it our life. And that we think is the real world. That, oh, you are not acting according to the real world. That's the misery that we have created. That here, chaos sorts itself into a world. Chaos itself has, kind of organized itself into a stable world. And we have become adapted to that chaotic life. We think that, yes, this is life. Why? Because everybody says so. Everybody does so. We don't see how miserable truly everybody is, no matter how happy they may look on outside. Check into people's lives. Truly, how many people we know who are truly living a life which they really feel delighted to live? And yet we follow the crowd. So here, chaos sorts itself into a world, a brief formation drifting in the void. And although this chaos that is settled as a world is a brief formation, there is nothing, it's always in flux, it's changing. But because it is repeated again and again, it appears like, that is what is real. Although everything is in flux, everything is fleeting, nothing is truly stationary, and that chaos also is a brief formation in this drifting, fleeting world of appearances, drifting in the void. Apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power. So, in this unfinished, ignorant state of being in which we live, whatever even knowledge that we have is just an imitation. We hardly have a true knowledge. We are just repeating and imitating knowledge from here and there, whatever we have gathered with our limited mental capacities. It's not the true knowledge. Like, for example, the true knowledge of Vedic rishis. They did tapasya and got the true knowledge. They didn't copy it from anywhere. But the knowledge we have, usually it is just copied, it's imitated. Apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power. So even our power as human beings, whatever limited power we live with, that also is half there, it's half lit. We don't feel full extent of that power. So unfinished arc is like, a rainbow is in like an arc, and it's unfinished, like it's half done. It's not even complete realization of our powers. So everything that we do is we get settled with too little. Bas itna hi chahiye. Although we given, like in slavery, we live for the demands of the ego. There we don't settle for bas itna hi chahiye. There our demands are endless, egoistic state, with relations, with people, with the life. But when it comes to our own selves, living with beauty, living with more higher and loftier consciousness, then we think that no, this much is enough. We settle with too little. I think there was this saying by This Christian mystic Thomas Merton, he says that that's the biggest misery, that we settle down with too little. We think that, oh, this is much, this is enough for today. Oh, so much of bliss, this is enough for today. I can't handle more joy, something like that. So, apings of knowledge, unfinished arcs of power, flamings of beauty into earthly shapes. Even when we have beauty in life, it's just like a flame that comes and then it disappears. Flamings of beauty into earthly shapes, that too trying to fit that beauty in this earthly manifestation, which is again very limited. So we have beauty, we have art, we have music, but very rare that we are able to uplift it to heights and greater heights. That too is very fleeting, and it's we are trying to fit it in some form or the other, maybe trying to earn money through it. So even that beauty is very fleeting, and we try to fit it in our mental frames, and what is usually acceptable in the society. There, that's where we fit even beauty, and it becomes ugly very soon, because with beauty will synonymously go the term freedom. Wherever is freedom, beauty goes parallelly. Beauty, love goes parallelly, harmony goes. But the way we live, very soon we limit it into a structure. We give it a form, although it may have dawned from higher regions, but very soon it gets distorted. We give it a form. The moment we give it a form, it becomes very limited in its expanse. And all that we have is love's broken reflexes of unity. So love, as mother says, is the transforming power. And as we know, divine mother herself, the mother herself, is a manifestation of that divine love. And that's why mother has the power of transformation that only can change our being integrally. So when we remember mother, we are actually remembering love. We are filling ourselves with love when we remember mother, because love only has the transforming power. That's why when we say mother does the yoga for us, because mother is a manifestation of love. Love is only love can do the yoga. Only divine love has the power of transformation. But the kind of love we have in human state, which is again a baby step towards divine love, all that we have is love's broken reflexes of unity. So we have reflections of unity. In love we feel oneness. You feel oneness with a sibling or a partner or maybe your child. There is love and there is oneness. There is semblance of unity. Even that semblance is very broken. It's broken reflections. Reflexes here is referring to reflections of unity. Swim. These reflections of unity swim, fragment mirrorings of a floating sun. It's like, imagine, if that you have a sun and it's reflected on a ocean. Now, although the sun is full illuminated and round and bright and vigorous, but when we have the reflection in the water, for example, we will see that the how it appears on the waves is like broken. The reflections are broken. One wave will reflect a small piece, the other wave will reflect the other piece, the other light. So it's a broken reflection. So although love is the uniting power, unifying power, but the way we have love at this stage of human evolution, that too is very broken. It's fragmented mirroring of a floating sun. This sun of divine light that we have, the sun of divine love that we have. In human condition right now, we have only mirrorings, and that too fragmented mirrorings of it. Only glimpses of oneness here and there. Not a true unity, a true perfection. And I'll just go through maybe the last two lines also, which go in continuation here. A packed assemblage of crude, tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole. So imagine that we human beings are for example, packed today in a Zoom session. So, who are we? A packed assemblage, like a assembly, a gathering of crude, tentative lives. How imperfect, ignorant, mistaken, half divine, half lit, half ignorant, tentative. It's like a tentative, it's not a complete perfection that we have reached right now. We are all in our own stumblings and uh, things to be corrected here and there, our half-lit mind. So it's like an assembly of crude, tentative lives, all of us. That's how we are at the moment. A packed assemblage of crude, tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole. And tessellated whole means, it's like you would have seen that how we have small pieces of, say, marbles or, this colored tiles, and they're very short little pieces, very irregularly shaped also many a times. And if you put them on a paper or on a ground and you uh, kind of stick them with a cement, then you have a ground which is, although it appears maybe beautiful, but it is just full of these little irregular pieces which have been cemented together like an assembly. So right now, in ordinary human consciousness, that's how we live, in our half-lit ignorance, satisfied with too little, living with a miserly life, not a grand life. A packed assemblage of crude tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole. That's how we live. And then he again, further continues. Would we want to take more lines today, or shall we end here?
I will take it for next week.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, anything? Any reflections? Anyone here? Okay. So thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Bye.